Morning guys, Kylo here. Today I'm going to be reading an accident report. Now this report is regarding a fatality with paragliding. Now, I know most of my content is paramotor related, but I'm also a free flight pilot. Now this one struck kind of close to home. Not because I knew the pilot, I'd honestly seen his name once or twice or heard it mentioned, but I didn't know him personally. But it kind of touched me though, because we fly the same glider at the same loading, same size, even the same color. So when I saw the glider that he was flying, immediately it struck me as like, oh, what happened to him? He just up and vanished. Now all this took place, I'd done my trip out there to the Pacific Northwest, and I was actually in the area the same time that this guy was flying around. Now he was doing free flight cross country across Nevada. This is where the accident happened. Something that I've never seen before is a full-blown accident report by Ozone, the manufacturer of the wing. He was on an Ozone Xeno Large. Again, the same glider that I fly at, the same loading that I fly the glider at. So there's some takeaways here, and I just want to read the accident report to you guys. Maybe you can learn something. I certainly did. So let's just get right down to it. Now, the day that the fatality happened, that the accident occurred, was roughly within a week of when I was in the same area that he was actually flying in. I was flying in the same area myself, a state over, but same conditions, same weather I was out there messing around with. All the sort of circumstances sort of touched me as far as me being there. Same equipment, same kind of flying. But I just want to read what was posted. Now, this was posted by Cross Country Magazine. I believe that Kiwi, that was his name. James, they called him Kiwi. That was his name. He was widely known in the paragliding community. Again, without me even knowing him personally, I did know of him. I did hear his name mentioned occasionally in conversations or podcasts or some media that I come across. I'm just going to read the accident report word for word. Let's do it. The accident report has been compiled by the Ozone team with the consultation of several key pilots who were centrally involved with the search and rescue effort. Following the accident, Ozone was asked to examine the glider. The investigation studied the available information, including track log files, evidence from the crash site, and the wing itself. The aim was to try to understand the circumstances of the incident, how the wing failed, and what can be learned. Following consultation with the pilot's family, and following the convention of accident reporting in many countries, we have anonymized the pilot involved in the accident. He is known throughout as Pilot A. Also, following consultation with the pilot's family, no digital files from Pilot A's flight instrument, phone, or other electronic devices will be released. Date of accident, 22nd of August 2020, Nevada, United States, strong desert conditions. Pilot was a male, age 56. Pilot experience. The pilot was experienced and current in high-level competition and cross-country flying. He had been flying since the early 1990s. Injuries, fatal. Glider, Ozone Xeno Large. Date of manufacture, January 2017. In brief, this report will look in detail at Pilot A's flight instrument data, paraglider lines and attachment points, harness and reserve. We suggest a likely scenario of what we think may have happened in the air based on the evidence. At the end, we offer our conclusions and highlight some recommendations. The ultimate aim of this report, in line with the wishes of the pilot's family, is to inform and educate the wider paragliding community to reduce the chances of similar accidents occurring in the future. The track log. IGC and KMN files downloaded from Pilot A's XC Tracer Mini 2, also the same Vario that I use. Pilot A attempted a long-distance cross-country flight in Nevada, USA. In the middle of the day at 2:27 p.m. and after 3 hours of flying, Pilot A had an incident whilst climbing in a thermal at an altitude of 4,230 meters ASL, 2,200 meters AGL. The thermal was relatively strong, averaging plus 5.4 meters per second for the last 20 seconds with a reasonable drift due to the 25 kilometer per hour west-southwest wind. It is impossible to assess the level of turbulence from the track log. Reports from other pilots flying through the same area on the same day suggest that conditions were not particularly rough or demanding due to the general damping effect of the smoke cover caused by wildfires upwind. However, considering the time of day, terrain, and recorded thermal strengths, there would have been strong levels of localized turbulence. Whilst thermaling at 2:27 and 28 seconds, p.m., the track records a peak of plus 13 meters per second, immediately followed by an abrupt change of trajectory. The track log had recorded several similar strong vario peaks throughout the day, so it may well be that these peaks are within the normal operating range of the instrument and therefore should not be used as absolute values. We can, however, safely conclude that he hit a strong gust at the time of the initial incident. Between 2:27:28 seconds and 2:27:39 seconds, there is a short, straight, and almost horizontal flight record of 100 meters downwind with a very low ground speed, 32 kilometers per hour average, minus the 25 kilometer per hour wind equals 7 kilometers per hour horizontal airspeed. This suggests the loss of normal flight occurred within the uplifting turbulence of the thermal, probably caused by either a spin or collapse, which then possibly developed into a stalled or backfly configuration. It is not possible to be more conclusive with the information available. The track log then shows that he entered a spiral dive at 2:27:39 seconds with a tight radius, probably close to a sat in character, averaging a negative 12 meters per second before accelerating to a peak of 23 meters per second. At 2:28:03 seconds, it is suspected that the lines failed. The track log indicates that the pilot then entered an unstable free fall and that the parachute was not deployed at any stage. There was around 35 seconds from the start of the incident to the line failure. The wing. The Ozone Zeno Large, serial number manufactured in January 2017. The Zeno is flight tested to EN 926-2 standard and rated END. It is also load tested to the EN 926-1 standard at 8 Gs with a maximum permitted total load of 125 kilograms. Pilot A owned this wing from new, but we are unsure of the total hours flown. The line set was replaced by himself in February 2019. We also do not know how many hours were flown on this particular line set. It is uncertain exactly what the total weight in flight was on the day of the accident. Pilot A's estimated body weight was between 110 and 115 kilograms. He was fully geared up for high altitude, long distance XC flying in extreme desert conditions. He was flying a Genie Light 3 harness with an Ozone Angel Square 140 parachute, at least 2 kilograms of drinking water, and approximately 2 kilograms of supplementary oxygen equipment, in addition to his normal flying attire. It is estimated his total weight in flight to be somewhere in the region of 130 to 140 kilograms. He was overloaded, but we do not know exactly by how much. The sail. Despite 3 seasons of flying and having spent 25 days exposed in the desert, the cloth is still in relatively good condition. The average lower surface porosity reading is 73 seconds with a tear strength of 1,000 grams. 5 millimeter tear measured with a betsometer. Betsometer? The upper surface leading edge has an average porosity of 239 seconds and a similar tear strength of 1,000 grams. In terms of porosity and tear strength, we would consider the sail to be in airworthy condition. The leading edge shows signs of friction wear near the plastic reinforcements on most of the ribs. This is probably due to the age and natural use of the wing. 6 times of the upper panels were torn in this area, identified by the red line in the diagram below. We believe this was caused by excessive tension running through the leading edge as a result of the initial line failure and high G spiral dive. There are multiple small tears and puncture marks in the upper and lower panels. We do not believe these contributed to or were a consequence of the incident and probably occurred during the 25 days in the desert. A few lower surface panels exhibit evidence of serrated tears caused by line damage, identifiable by the red marks left by the lines in the area of the tear. These marks are typical evidence of line failures after extremely high loads and are caused by the whiplash effect of the broken lines. We regularly observe the exact same type of damage on wings that have been subjected to a destructive load test. There is no evidence on top surface panels of tears caused by the cutting action of lines during cravats or aggressive collapses. These normally resemble the tears seen above, often serrated and usually accompanied by the telltale red marks. Such damage has been seen regularly during testing and is not uncommon after a cascading event or aggressive collapse cravat on any high-performance wing with thin lines. The lack of any such evidence on the top surface suggests that the wing was fully open and inflated during the spiral stage of the incident. 3 of the C-line attachment tabs have been pulled out by the sail completely, one of which pulled out a portion portion of the panel from the tab to the trailing edge. The C-line attachment tabs are not heavily reinforced as they are not normally subjected to significant loads. All of the load-bearing A and B line attachment tabs are still in place on the wing. The lines. The line set was replaced by Pilot A in February 19. The overall condition of the lines is acceptable without obvious signs of serious aging due to excessive use. However, some of the main riser lines, the lowest line level, are seriously worn by friction a few centimeters above the risers. On the left side, AR1, 2, 3, BR 2 and 3. This type of damage indicates a strong possibility of a twisted line incident. Broken fibers and discoloration caused by excessive frictional forces during a twisted spiral can significantly reduce the strength of individual lines. Alternatively, this damage may have occurred before the flight by dragging across rocks or being accidentally stood upon. But in our opinion, these are hallmark signs of stress caused by a twisted spiral. 3 of the riser lines on the left-hand side broke during the friction-damaged area. AR2, 3, and BR2. We believe these were the first lines to break during the incident and caused the remaining lines to fail. BR3 broke higher up, suggesting it was damaged by the whipping effect of one of the initial lines to fail. BR1 of the left-hand side broke in an unusual way. All of the upper lines corresponding to it broke close to their attachment tabs, which must have happened before BR1 itself broke. We believe BR1 was either broken by the whipping effect or during the impact with the ground. It was not one of the initial lines to break. Of the remaining lines, the failure occurred mostly in the upper gallery, with a few mids failing instead. This is a typical failure pattern seen during extremely high loads and have been observed during EN 926-1 sustained load tests that lead to full destruction. The normal pattern of a catastrophic line failure observed with slow motion cameras during a load test is as follows. The initial failure is normally a main A or B riser line. Immediately after this, the remaining riser lines along the same chord position fail, and then the canopy detaches as the upper lines across the span and chord fail one by one in a very fast unzipping action. This type of failure is only likely under extremely high sustained loads. We have never seen this type of failure during a dynamic shock test. So in this case, the point of total line failure was, we believe, unlikely to have been caused by a violent reopening or a shortfall past the lines, although it is impossible to rule this out completely. We tested braking strength of some of the intact right-hand side riser lines, AR1, AR2, AR3, and BR1. The braking place, original strength, and the loss of strength. Considering the age of the lines, there is nothing abnormal in these values. We also cannot rule out the possibility that they may have been accidentally damaged before, during, or after the accident whilst in the desert. Attachment mounting. Of the upper lines still attached to the canopy, we can see the vast majority were incorrectly mounted. We've conducted a braking test study on the line and attachment tab mounting with a static, sustained, and dynamic load to see the influence of the mounting method to the overall strength. In total, we broke 78 lines, and using average values, the incorrect mounting results in no loss in static load, 31% loss in a shock load, no loss in static load, 27% loss in shock load, 22% loss in static load, and a 25% loss in shock load. 50% of the upper lines broke at their line attachment tab junctions. The remaining broke either at the loop at the other end, where they were attached to the midlines, or at the end of a splice, the weakest point, or the upper line remained intact and the midline on the level below failed. In the test we made on the 070 and 090, lose more strength during a dynamic shock load than the 050. On the wing, 87% of the 090 and 070 upper A lines have broken at the tab junction, while only 41% of the 050. This also suggests there was a sudden peak in the already high sustained load and reinforces the unzipping scenario. The incorrectly mounted lines may have been a contributing factor to the complete line failure by facilitating the secondary unzipping failure. There are 5 lines which have broken in the middle of the line between the splices. This is unusual since a line normally breaks at its weakest point near the end of the splice or at the line junction, unless of course they were already damaged. We have only seen lines break in the middle like this due to whiplash effect in a catastrophic line failure during a destructive load test. Other lines also had signs of local damage points, also probably the result of whiplash events. The brake lines were also completely detached from the canopy. Group 2 left side has broken in the middle of the lowest line, so probably from AR2 or BR2 braking whiplash. The rest of the brake fan is broken on the upper lines or middle upper lines, probably the same unzipping mode that the rest of the lines. Harness and reserve parachute. When he was found, the parachute handle pins were still securely in place, as was the small piece of Velcro that secured the handle to the harness. A test deployment was carried out to confirm the operation of the system. At 0G, the parachute exited easily without any resistance, confirming the system was functioning perfectly. We are confident that the lack of deployment was not caused by a bag lock or other harness reserve system failure. The pilot was therefore unable to reach the handle, probably due to loss of consciousness or perhaps because he was physically unable to do so during the unstable free fall. The piece of cloth ripped from the wing was about 0.2 meters squared and descended with him attached to the risers. At minus 44 meters per second, this would have dragged at least 10 dacronewtons, D-A-N, sorry, rusty on my metric system abbreviations here, and may have hindered his efforts to reach the handle. Likely scenario. It is impossible to be certain of the exact course of events, leaving us only able to speculate on the most likely scenarios based on the information available. The incident occurred during a very strong thermal gust at high altitude. It was initiated by either an accidental spin or stall, a gust stall, or most likely an asymmetric or frontal collapse. The abrupt change in direction logged by the GPS, along with the evidence found on the main riser lines, strongly suggests that riser twists were involved. There is no evidence on the wing, lines, or track logs suggesting a mid-air collision with another aircraft. After the initial incident, the pilot then entered a steep spiral dive or SAT with a very small tight radius. There is no evidence on the sail to suggest that a cravat was involved. It is therefore likely that the wing was fully inflated as the spiral developed into a high sink rate, high G rotation that he was unable to recover from. Twisted risers with the pilot facing the wrong way is very disorienting, and if not stopped can result in the brakes becoming locked, hindering any further control. It is very possible, in fact highly likely, that during this period he lost consciousness due to the sustained and increasing G forces. It is our belief that the AR2 line on the left-hand side broke first, immediately followed by the left side BR2 and AR3. BR3 and KML2 on the left were likely broken by the whiplash of the first failure. The loss of these lines would have added significant extra load on the remaining lines, which mostly failed in the top gallery close to the attachment points in a very fast unzipping event at around 228.03. This may have been the result of the wing attempting to exit from the spiral or SAT. The track log shows a brief reduction in sink rate before accelerating into free fall. This anomaly could be caused by sudden shock loading, example, a steep exit followed by an inversion or collapse, or it could be from the exit of a fast rotational event. Regardless, the remaining lines reached their strength limit and failed, predominantly in the upper cascades. Subsequently, the pilot entered an unstable free fall and was unable to reach his rescue handle. The most likely scenario, in our opinion, is that he lost consciousness during the high G stage of the initial incident and did not recover consciousness during the free fall. Conclusions. The wing suffered a complete line failure under extreme G loads, probably caused by a combination of the following three factors listed in order of importance. Damaged left riser lines. The damage occurred either before the incident, accidental damage weakening the lines, or during the incident as the result of twist. Excessive total weight in flight, up to approximately 15 kilograms over the maximum permitted weight. Incorrectly mounted lines on the attachment tabs. Recommendations. This tragic event highlights several important factors. Although load tested to the EN 926-1 standard, 8 Gs at maximum load, when a certified wing is flown near or above the maximum weight tested during the load test. Normally, the maximum weight of the largest size of the model under certain rare and extreme circumstances, a line failure can occur. This is especially relevant to heavy pilots flying large and extra large sizes at or near the top of the weight range. They are much closer to the physical limit than those flying at the top of the weight range of the smaller sizes. Irrespective of wing size, respect the manufacturer's maximum recommended weight. Never fly overloaded, above the certified weight. Ensure the lines are regularly checked for length, condition, and strength. See the owner's manual for inspection and service interval recommendations. After any cascading incident involving riser or line twist, you should presume the lines are weakened and in need of replacement. This is especially important for those flying high-end END or CCC competition two-liner wings with unsheathed line sets. When relining a wing, ensure the lines are placed on the attachment tabs correctly. The loop of the lines must be held by the attachment tabs. Lines should not be attached with a lark's foot, as this significantly reduces their strength. If you are unsure of the correct procedure, always consult with a professional. The color of the wing severely hindered the SAR effort. High visibility color combinations are available, so we should consider the terrain we mostly fly in and choose colors that contrast strongly. When flying at high altitudes, the effects of G-force are more pronounced. Pilots have less G-tolerance due to the reduced levels of oxygen. Never allow an incident to progress to an out-of-control situation, especially on a high-performance END or competition wing. G-forces build fast and can quickly result in the loss of consciousness. If you are in a situation where an unwanted spiral is developing, your first course of action within 180 degrees of the start of the turn should be control, reduce, stop the rotation. This has to take priority over anything else. If you are twisted, get directional control before attempting to untwist. If necessary, stall the wing. The aim is to kill the energy and associated G-forces while you still have the ability to do so. If you are unable to regain directional control and G-forces are mounting, throw your reserve parachute immediately. This reminder is especially pertinent for experienced pilots. It is easy to believe that when high, it is possible to recover from any situation. The loss of our dear friend clearly illustrates this is not always the case. Our personal condolences. Pilot A was not just an anonymous pilot to us. He was a close friend to many in Ozone. We would like to take the opportunity to wish his family and friends our deepest condolences. We would also like to express our sincere gratitude for all those involved with the search and rescue efforts. Thank you, Ozone. That was unbelievably informative. And my condolences to Kiwi's family as well. People I don't even know, likely will never meet. But again, my condolences to you. It's sad to lose anybody doing the thing that I love so much. The Zeno failed. Obviously, there were some contributing factors that, it wasn't just a pristine wing that failed. He had flown it heavily for years. He had replaced the lines, and he did a lot of flying. He was a competition pilot. He was out chasing it hard. Who knows how many hours were on this wing? Me flying the same wing, again, it really touched home and made me consider my own flying and my own wing and, checking the things that I need to check. I've got some line damage on my wing, just a few little snags where perhaps, some thorns or something grabbed some of the lines, but it's got me considering a line replacement. I've been flying the glider for a couple years, albeit not heavily. Personally, I believe I'm going to keep flying the Zeno without too much worry. Anything you can learn, anything you can put in the back of your mind, note to self. Zeno starts winding up and getting twisted, throw the reserve. Don't hesitate. Don't get in a situation where you get G-locked, pass out, and then get killed or your glider unzips. That's terrifying. That is so terrifying to think about that. This is the first time I've ever seen an accident report in such detail, an investigation. It's drawn up just like they do the NTSB when they research aircraft fatalities and, commercial crashes. It kind of goes through the same things. They look at all the different factors. Something that we don't know is, the pilot factor. After 3 hours of flying, no matter who you are, you're pushing hard. I've gone flying for over 3 hours. And at the 3 hour mark, whether you're driving or flying or anything, you're getting kind of taxed. You've probably had to take a bathroom break. You've probably eaten something. You've probably drank some. It's operating a vehicle, an aircraft. As simple as these things are, they're aircraft. And we've got to treat them with respect. Again, thank you, Ozone. Thank you for Kiwi's family for letting them do this. This is important for all of us. We could all take something away from this, I think. And I hope you do. I hope you learned something. I hope this message touches someone who, if it saves even one life or prevents even one accident or even prevents an injury, great. That's the point of this channel. It's what it's turned into. I like to share the information. I like to share it with you guys, to someone who doesn't know. There were things in this study that I didn't know. How a glider breaks and unzips and can fail. The cascading event, the whiplash effect causing other lines to fail. These are things in the back of my mind I probably new, but to read it, this is what happens during destructive load testing of a glider. That's something I've not come across, and I'm glad that I learned that. So I'm gonna conclude the video there, guys. As sad as it was, and as heartfelt as it touched me, being that I've got the same dang ride, same dang color, that it gives you pause and makes you think about what we do, why we do it, and how we should do it. If you like the video, click the like. That's not really why I made it, but I just wanted to read the accident report to you. I'll see you guys real soon in the next one. Much love, guys. Kyle out.